Shalawam, and welcome back to The Hidden Chosen. I am Hadassah Saiwan, returning with a brand new study. And this study is called Are You Ready to Fly? And this is part one called This Could Be Our Year. Now, let me say this up front for all the rapture ready people. This is not about the rapture. Okay? So if you're clicking on this hoping that I will give you some information about the rapture, no, this is not about the rapture. This is about the regathering of the southern kingdom of Yashwa'al, who will be taken up in the chariots. All right? And even though this message is primarily meant for the southern kingdom, it is still enough to edify those who want to know what's going on and those who want to get themselves ready for everything that's coming down the pike. All right? Because you still need to get yourselves ready. The southern kingdom, they're the first to be regathered, then the northern kingdom, and then the Gentiles will be going through the judgments, the last set of judgments, which will be the vials, the seven vials. And whoever persevere through those, they will reign. They will be living in the time when Hamashiach will come and reign on this earth for 1,000 years. All right? So this now is to help everyone, even though I'm pointing at a particular group of people. It is still to edify everyone who belongs to Alahayam. All right? So let's get started. We are indeed living in the last days as prophesied by the prophets, the servants of Alahayam, and even by Hamashiach when he was here on the earth the first time. So, what is happening today? We were warned servants, the prophets of Alahayam, through the apostles who received the same warnings from Hamashiach. But when I said same, I mean similar warnings. But they're still in connection with what the prophets of old had documented, the dreams and the visions they received. That's why Hamashiach always quoted the prophets. He gave them the word at that time, and now he is coming as the word. And he's given it firsthand to his disciples who became his apostles, the messengers that were sent with this message. It wasn't meant for their time, it is meant for us today. All right? Let us look at what he told his disciples to watch for. What he told his disciples to watch for are the very same things, events that he wants us to pay attention to, because those will give you an idea of how close our regathering is. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 24. I've done this book many times, but now we're going to look at it with fresh eyes, and we're going to look at it and compare it to the times that we're living in. All right? Matthew chapter 24, verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world. So those are three questions. But the reason why they came to him to ask him privately, what, when shall these things be, is because they showed him the temple. And his response to them was that there was not going to be one stone left unturned where, where this temple is concerned, meaning it's going to be destroyed. It was going to be destroyed. He was already warning them that he was going to destroy his own temple. And that's why they were asking him, when will this happen? That was the first question. Okay. The disciples asked Hamashiach three very important questions. Similarly today, we are also asking in regards to the last two questions. And what shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? We are seeking deeper understanding of end times prophecies to know what to look for as indicative of the signs of the end of the world. Why? Because all the madness that's going on around us. There's utter destruction, chaos, and confusion going on all around us, all at the same time, in every part of the world now. Used to be only one location, now it's all over the place. If they're not fires in one place, well, let me rephrase that. There'll be fires in one place, floodings in another, winter storms in another, tornadoes in another, famine in another, drought in another, wars. All these calamities are happening at the same time, and it has a lot of people. They have a lot of people scratching their heads trying to figure out what is going on. But those who are in the know, they know what's going on. All right? Those who are paying attention to the word of Alahayam will know what is going on. Okay? These are not times to be afraid or to feel anxious or to feel despair. This is the time for us to look up. All right. We are seeing the escalation of evil in this world, and there is brazenness along with it. So we know that something is up. So now, people did their evil under the cover of darkness or in secret. Now everyone, let me not say everyone. Now we have people that are out there doing their evil in broad daylight. All right. Hamashiach spoke to his disciples concerning the events to come. However, many of these events which he outlined were not intended for his disciples then. Only a few of them. But they were intended for us today. The greater majority of them were intended for us today. And that's why I said, and I did a series looking at the book of Matthew, chapter 24, the book of Mark, chapter 13, and the book of their chronological order. The wicked people that be, they change the order of the events to bring confusion so that we will be thinking, oh wait, he said when people will go up on the rooftop with something to do with the abomination that makes desolate. When you, oh yes, that's the scripture. When you see the abomination of desolation take his place, he said, then you will have some running up to their rooftop. Some will be running this place, some will be running that place. I'm paraphrasing because I didn't look at those particular scriptures because they don't pertain to us. Those events, that particular event, when he said, pray that your flight will not be in the winter, and you know, women wouldn't be suckling their babies. He was warning them at that time and a few generations after of the 70 AD massacre that came about through the Roman Empire. That was pertaining to them then, not to us. That's why people are confused about who the real people are that belongs to this land called Yashwa'al. They're thinking the ones there, oh yes, they're going to set up a third temple because he talks about the abomination that makes desolate. So they have to have a new temple, a third temple, and then they're going to start sacrificing again because the prophet Danayal said this, and that he would cause the oblation, the sacrificing to cease, all kinds of things that they have no clues about. I've looked at all these prophecies in previous study, especially when I did the Revelation series. But I also looked at that when I compared these particular books, these 3 books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and I put the events in their chronological order. All right? And once you know the chronological order, you will know that once the people return to their land, there will be no more war. Go back to the Old Testament. Go back to the prophecies of old. When Alahayam said, when I bring you back, there will be no more war. I will be a hedge around you, a hedge of fire, hedge of glory around you. These people there in that land, they're always at war with their neighbors. That's not prophecy. All right. Let's move on. We're not talking about them. We're not here to talk about them. However, many of these events, I read that already. So the list of events which he gave spanned from their era to ours today. So he gave them a series of events that will take place starting from their era all the way to our era today. Because we will be the last generation, all right, that will be regathered. We are the generation that will be regathered. Okay? Now, the first question his disciples asked him, when shall these things be? In regards to the destruction of the temple. The second question, they asked him, what shall be the sign of your coming? In regards to his second coming on the earth. They had hoped that his first coming would be the time to rescue them from the Roman persecution. But this was not his time to deliver his people from the hands of their enemies. This was his time to deliver them from darkness, from ignorance. All right? And to bring the light, which is truth, into the world for them and for the generations after, right up to our time. And the third question, what shall be the sign of the end of the world? And this is in regards to events which will indicate that the end of the world is here. They wanted the ending of their persecution. They had only hoped. And they had hoped that he would say, well, I'm here already, so it's over. No, he did not say that. He gave them a long list of events that will take place over a great span of time. Okay. So these three questions that his disciples asked him show us that they too were curious to know about the end of the world. This was because of the heavy Roman persecution that they were living under, hoping that these events would come to pass sooner rather than later. They wanted to know when, speaking of the timing of the events leading up to the destruction of the second return, and the sign of the end of the world. And he didn't mind them asking the question, even though those events did not pertain to them. He needed to keep hope alive throughout the generations that he was coming back to set up his reign upon the earth. He was coming back to destroy evil and permanently set his people free. So he permitted these questions and he answered them with events that will be taking place. So that now, as we are reading what he told them, we can relate to what he said, because those things are happening in our lifetime. Okay. Hamashiach outlined a series of events to come, but we must be aware that these events are not in their chronological order in the Bible, just like the book of Revelation. Okay? There are some verses that were meant for the disciples then and generations soon after, as in the Maccabean era. And let me read that again. There are some verses that were meant for the disciples then, in their era, and generations soon afterwards, which would be in connection to the Maccabean era. We're talking about the Maccabeans that revolted against the Roman Empire. All right. We will look at the verses which only pertain to us today. Okay? So that's why we're going to skip some verses, because there are some verses that do not pertain to us today. Hamashiach gave us clues when he responded to his disciples, and they will help us to know just how close we are to be regathered. So this is the purpose of this study, to know just how close. All right? And then we need to know what to do. Okay? Because you're not just going to sit there and twiddle your thumbs. No, there are things that we need to do to get our house in order. Okay. And once we understand these signs, then these prophecies will no longer be a mystery. They are a mystery to those who have the wool pulled over their eyes and over their ears, and their hearts are calloused. Those who are worshiping pagan gods, they can't understand it. And so they add their own little spin, their own logic, their own interpretation of the prophecies to make it mean what they want them to mean. All right? Let's go on to Matthew chapter 24, verse 4. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. That was the first warning. It's the same warning for us today, because deception is very tricky. We are being warned against deception. Why? Because deception is a tool that the devils have mastered. They are the masters of deception. And it is deception that can lead someone who believes in Hamashiach into lies, into believing in lies, because of this same deception. All right? Deception isn't blatant. It is not obvious. It only becomes obvious when you know the truth. Then you cannot be deceived. All right? And that's why we need to spend the greater amount of our time in the word of Alahayam to know the truth. We need to spend ample amount of time in prayer so that we become sensitive to Rawak HaKadash, so that when he speaks to us, we will hear him and we will take heed. All right? There are a lot of voices out there speaking, and it sounds good to the ears until Rawak HaKadash prick you in the spirit and say, that's not from me. Let's go to the word and see what the word really says. You say, that's a lie. Remember when they said this, this, and this? How could it be the opposite now? It is Ruach HaKadosh that shows us the loopholes. Sorry, let me not call it loopholes. That show us the holes in the stories that have been told to us, in the narratives that they've been feeding us for generations, and it's worse today. He's the one who reminds us they said this last week. Now they're saying that this week. What gives? Because they're liars. And when the wool has been pulled over your eyes and over your ears, you will believe what they say. You will believe everything that they say. Because that's what deception does. And that's the purpose of deception. All right, let's read on. Today we are living in a world where deception is beyond anything we have ever seen. And yet it will continue to increase. You think you've seen it all? You're not seeing anything yet. Wait till when the southern kingdom is out of here. Then you're going to see some serious business if you're still around. All right? And the only people that will still be around will be the Gentiles and the northern kingdom. So if you are of Yashraal and you were not regathered but you're still alive, that means you're of the northern kingdom. Or you're a Gentile. But you're going to see the horror that this beast empire that is revving to rear its ugly heads rise up. And the only way to survive in these times is to be embedded in Alahayam, rooted in him, and to trust him with your eyes closed, to have faith beyond your imagination. Because right now we got to think before we believe, right? Well, no. In these times, you're going to have to believe and not think. Believe in him, that is, and not think. He says to move, you move. You don't even ask where, you just start moving. The wall is in front of you, you still keep walking. Because he didn't say to stop. The next thing you know, an opening develops in that wall. That's him. Because you're trusting in him. You're going to walk in miracles that you've never... Listen, when you read the miracles in the Bible, right? You wonder, will those ever happen again? Well, they will happen again for those that belong to him, that remain on the earth until he is ready to regather them. Miracles upon miracles that you've never seen or heard of. And that's why I do these studies, to try to encourage people, encourage the southern kingdom, the northern kingdom, and the Gentiles. Because we belong to him. And once we belong to Him, we have access to Him and His power as long as we continue to believe. All right, let's read on. The, Today we're living in a world, I know I read this already, I'll read it again. Today we're living in a world where deception is beyond anything we have ever seen. And yet it will continue to increase. And people today are fretting because I don't like this world. I want to get out of this world. You know why? Because when everything was sweet, you had your your job that paid, somewhat well. You were living middle class. So you really didn't have any wants or needs. You have your house, your cars, your children. Life was good until now. Well, let me tell you something. Life was never good for the Negroes. Life was never good for those who belong to Alahayam. So now that the middle class people are struggling, okay, they've never had to struggle before, not to this degree. Things seem to balance out for them, but never balanced out for us. And that's why these times, they don't trouble us. Because we are used to living like this. We're used to persecutions. We're used to tribulation. We're used to torments. We're used to having to struggle to scrape by. We're used to it. So that now these times are hitting everyone now, right? Hitting them in the pocket. They're fretting. They can't handle it. They're stressed. They want to get out of here. Get used to it. Because nobody's going anywhere except the southern kingdom. Okay? Get used to it. And there's no second Exodus either for the southern kingdom. That's for the northern kingdom. And they too got to go through some serious persecutions, tribulation, great tribulation at that. They're going to be martyred left, right, and center for 3.5 years. So nobody's going to have it easy. We never had it easy. The northern kingdom, they're definitely not going to have it easy, and certainly not the Gentiles. Everyone has to go through their time of persecution. This will sift the wheat from the tares who really love Alahayam Yahweh no matter what. No matter what comes our way. No matter what we have to go through, we still love Him. Though you slay me, yet will I what? Love you. And yet will I serve you. That's the cry of, you call him Job. No matter what is done to me, I will still hold on to Alahayam. That's what He's looking for from His people who belongs to Him. All right, let's read on. Deception is a lie wrapped in a very thin layer of truth. Whitewashed lies. That's what they're called, whitewashed lies. And this is what these liars on this earth, they come with whitewashed lies. One thin layer of truth, and beneath it, darkness, deception, evil, wickedness. It doesn't matter if they're religious leaders or if they're just the leaders in this world. Whitewashed lies. And people that are walking in the flesh will succumb to these whitewashed lies because they help give them some sort of hope that life can get better. Oh yeah, because my leader told me it's going to get better. Just give me 2 more weeks. Just give us 2 more weeks. We're going to get through this. 2 weeks go by, give me 2 more weeks. Yeah, my leader said give him 2 more weeks. And then life will go back to normal. It's been almost 5 years. Has it gone back to normal? No. Life is progressing towards utter destruction. This is where it's headed. And Alahayam is permitting this because he is bringing on the ending of this world. That's why he's allowing these devils to do their dirty deeds. Because he wants to end this. It's time. This is the time. This is the season. This is the era in which evil will come to an end. All evil. This was Hamashiach's first warning to his disciples. There are many layers of deception orchestrated against the inhabitants on the earth to keep us believing in their lies. Deception has been around since the dawn of time, and through the use of religion, education, and government, meaning the leadership, that those leaders that run the world, that run the countries, it has properly indoctrinated many people on this earth to the point of cognitive dissonance and stupor, its intended purpose. Let's go back to 2020, March of 2020, right? And after that, things were told to us and people actually believed them. Even though from their recollection of things they have learned in school, what they're saying to us or what they said to us did not make any sense. But you see, this is how Ruach HaKodesh works. When they came to us with their advice, immediately Ruach HaKodesh would have reminded you of things you have learned in high school, where it is concerning bacteria versus viruses. Because this is what happened to me. When they started telling us about putting on a face covering, immediately he reminded me of my classes that I took in high school. In high school, in biology. And how my biology teacher taught us that there's a big difference between a bacteria organism and a virus organism. Big difference in size, especially in size. Bacteria is bigger, so you can handle that a lot easier, whereas the virus now is another story. You can't just put a piece of cloth over your face and breathe and think that that cannot penetrate. It can. This came back to me from my classes. And even people that are in the field that should have known better, even they, the wool was pulled over their eyes and over their ears. And the few that wanted to stand up, they couldn't because it would mean them losing their practice. So they had to play along. And then there are even fewer amount that say, you know what, I'm not buying this, and I'm not going to stay quiet. I'm going to speak the truth. And these three organizations, the religious organization, the educational organizations, and the governments, were working hand in hand to bring about this deception. Okay? They were working together. And then people believing in their religious leader, because that's my pastor. My pastor said, that's not the MOTB. Okay? It's okay. Because our leaders said it was okay. Look and see how they go and get, take the stuff, the toxin. So it's okay. Don't believe in those religious freaks that tell you that it's the MOTB, mark of the beast. Don't believe them, because it has to come in your forehead or in your right hand. All right. Then there are constant narratives at play and agendas in play to achieve their desire of absolute deception. And this is exactly what is going on right now. A lot of agendas, a lot of narratives, all bombarding the hearts and the minds of people to bring fear. All right, to bring fear. And this is how they control the masses, through fear. We saw that in 2020. It was fear of losing your job, fear of losing your home, fear of losing your life, even because they believed that this illness was going to kill them, destroy them. They believed it. So fear was their motivation to keep believing in the lies and to do what the authorities told them to do. And this is what we must fight against. To not believe in what we are told by the so-called experts, and certainly not by what we see. Forget about the experts, because the experts, they all have the devil in their back pocket. They're paid actors, and they don't care about you. And even if they are not of the wicked people in this world that are bringing about this deception, they're paid well to go along. And they don't care. As long as you give me money and I have a fat bank account, that's all I care about. There are some people like that. These wicked agents who claim to be highly educated professionals are very cunning in creating scenarios like Hollywood productions to suit their agendas. And we see a lot of it leading up to the toxin being given to people. And when I say toxin, I talk about that stuff that they put in people's arm. All right. It had a lot of productions, a lot of actors, actual actors, and entertainers, all playing their part on the world stage. They utilize entertainers and actors to further push their narratives and agendas in order to convince us of a lie on a mass scale. Or remember, you have people from the broadcasting company saying, "Oh yeah, I'm at home and I got tested, and guess what? I am positive for you know what. So now I have to stay at home because I don't want to pass it on. Then you had actors and actresses and singers and sports people, all of them reporting. And they're all liars because they're all actors on the world stage. They were all liars. They were paid by the devils to carry out this thing, to help them to carry out this thing, to convince the world of the biggest hoax this world has ever seen. And only the people that belong to Alahayam, whether they know it or not, saw through the lie. They saw through the lie. And then you have the other group of people that pretended that they were against what was going on, but they were what you call the control opposition. They still belong to the same people. And they did that because they wanted to keep us divided. And they also wanted to control what they wanted us to know and what they didn't want us to know. So you still had to be careful of the sources of the exposés that came out. Because even to my surprise, a lot of the so-called doctors that claimed that they were against everything that was going on, they turned out to be one of them. That was my biggest surprise. And then again, I wasn't really surprised. I was surprised on one hand, but I had always had a thought at the back of my mind. Because when I saw these people reporting on things like side effects and what have you, or how, like what was in the vials and the potential for danger, what struck me each and every time when I looked at those people were the smirks on their faces. Like they could not hide their glee. And one of them kind of burst out giggling. And then when she caught herself, she had to then do, a quick, like a back, like a moonwalk, right? She had to do a moonwalk to try to explain why she was giggling. And the reason why she giggled when she was talking about the horrific things that she found inside the vials of this poison was because I cried when I saw them. I saw these things. I had no clue what they were. So I cried. And yet now she's laughing. And you see the way how these people operate, they operate in such deception themselves that they can't even explain properly their true emotions. She was trying to explain the reason why she was giggling is because she cried earlier. It doesn't make any sense. And that left a check in my spirit concerning her and a few others that I've noticed the smirks on their faces. The same kind of smirk that you'll see the Hell's Gate guy when he was talking about it. Him and his. All right. All right, let's move on. We saw this in action in 2020 and onward. And people believed all the lies told because the professionals said so. And they also disbelieved the truth because the professionals said that it ain't so. That was another thing that really kind of had me confounded. You have family members, close friends that know you personally, and you're telling them what the truth is. But no. I don't want to believe anything that you have to say because the people on television say don't believe you. Don't believe you. You're wearing a tinfoil hat. It's all conspiracy theory. Anyway, we have to believe the doctors. Sorry, let me scratch that. We have to believe the professionals. All right? We have to believe the professionals, even if they don't have a degree and in things pertaining to the body. They have they may have a degree for things pertaining to a computer, or sorry, to technology or engineering, but these same people that don't have a degree in the anatomy of the human body, they're coming telling us what we need to do with our own bodies. Did that make any sense? Made no sense to me whatsoever. None whatsoever. It still doesn't make sense, however many years later. But you will have friends and family members who will believe them over their own family member or close friend. And that's where the great divide occurred. Therefore, seeing isn't always believing. They wanted us to see that the places where people go to get help, to heal themselves, were overrun with sick people, overrun. But when people actually went into those same places with their little telephone with a camera on it, and they saw how empty those places were, then you knew it was a Hollywood production. You got the professionals doing TikTok dances. Oh, yes, this is a stress reliever. Oh, really? You got time to go and do a TikTok dance because you got to practice in order to be able to synchronize together. And you have time for that. And yet you're complaining you're overworked and understaffed. All these things that happened that people that should have had one grain of common sense could not figure it out. Why? Because the wool was pulled over their eyes. They wanted to believe in the lie, and so they were under heavy, heavy deception. They still are today. Because even though the so called professionals have been coming out and saying we were wrong, we were wrong, they still can't believe it. There were some that ignored their friends and family, and then after the fact, now they have all kinds of health issues. Now they're regretting not listening to the truth. Why? Because they were under heavy deception. But it's too late now. It's too late. And the worst deception that is out there is like, okay, well, you can still get yourself better. Go for praying, go and get prayers and get someone to lay hands on you and go walk around the ground barefooted and drink this and eat this and bathe with this and flush those things out of your system. All a pack of lies. Because you accepted this willingly. So now you have to pay the consequences, and those consequences is utter destruction. It would be for some people, you're going through a lot of pain and torments, and then the utter destruction. Those are the consequences. And nothing nobody can do to help you, not even the Most High can help you, because you have sealed your own fate. You have put the last nail in your own coffin. Nothing anyone can do for you now. I know a lot of people are hopeful that, well, I repented. You can't repent for this. How can you repent for something that you can't take it out of your system? It's embedded on a cellular level. It's embedded. It has, and it's transforming what is in there. It's like you have a loaf of bread that you've baked and you're trying to get all the ingredients that you've put in to this loaf of bread after it's been baked. How are you going to get that done? How are you going to unbake a bread? All right, let's move on. It is for this reason why we must be diligent in studying the word of Alahayam, to pray and especially to fast and pray. We need to spend as much time as possible worshiping Him, getting into His Word, and learning the truth through the guidance of Rawak Hakadash. So in part 3, I'm going to tell you some things that you need to be doing. All right, and it's nothing like going and buying black plastic bags and putting up at your windows for the 3 days of darkness, nothing like that. I'm trying to get us spiritually ready. All right, spiritually ready. And most of all, we need to believe in His only begotten Son, Yahweh, our Mashiach. If not, we will certainly fall prey to lies and deception, which will lead to destruction. So these studies, parts 1 and 2, rather, I'm going to show you in detail the things that are happening in the world compared to what Hamashiach said was going to be happening. Okay, that's all I'm doing. And then in part 3, then we are going to prepare ourselves. All right. Verse 5 of Matthew chapter 24. For many shall come in my name, that speaking of his title, saying, I am Mashiach, and shall deceive many. So you see, more deception. More deception. There are several ways to look at this statement from Hamashiach. There have been people already claiming to be the Messiah, but there will be many more people who will claim the same, especially as time goes on and evil increases tremendously and anxiety levels hit the red zone. So there are people, and I've seen documentaries of so many people calling themselves the Son of God. Well, that's all right. They can call themselves the Son of the fallen angels because that's who God is, right? But nevertheless, they think that they're the Messiah. They call themselves the Messiah. All right? There's so many people that have risen up and they've started their own little cults, right? And they have their followings. And this has been going on for a long time now. But it's going to increase. It's going to get worse. Why? Because people, their anxiety level is going to go way high. And they're going to need to believe in something. And this man is going to rise up and say, I am the Messiah. So come follow me. I will help you. But these are the devils at work, even in people. All right? We already seen it today, but it's going to get worse. The purpose of fake messiahs is to draw many people into their deception in order to control and take advantage over them, while at the same time these fake messiahs spiritually and physically abuse these people because of their weak nature. Now we saw recently the one from the Philippines. This particular person, they have churches all over the world. And people will leave their countries to go and see him where he is in the Philippines, where he was in the Philippines. Maybe he's still there, I don't know, right? And all these people all around the world were being spiritually, financially, and physically abused by this person. But a lot of them still can't see that because they're under his deception. They actually believe that he is the Son of God. It doesn't matter what he has done. He is the Son of God, so he's free to do whatever he wants to do to whomever he does it to. But some people woke up and complain to the authorities. And so today he's been arrested. All right? But there are many more like him that have drawn people even from their marriages. These women leave their husbands and run off with this person and living on a compound somewhere in the boonies. All right. The next way to look at this statement, there are some people who will say that yes, he is the Messiah, meaning the Messiah is the Messiah, but do not believe in him, as they only use his title to attract attention. They want people to come to them. Especially, you see a lot of them on this platform. They cry out to the Messiah and say, yeah, he is the Messiah. But when you look at the way how they're living their lives, they certainly don't believe in him. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out. Just by the things that they say and the things that they do. And they put it out there for everyone to see. So you're not drawing assumptions, you're seeing the evidence with your own eyes and hearing with your own ears the things that they're saying. They're living in adultery. All right? They're doing this, they're breaking the laws of Alahayam. But the only reason why that they will say, yes, he is the Messiah, is to get people to believe in them, believe that they are prophets or prophetesses or teachers or apostles or what have you. Because they realize that the most vulnerable people are people who are in religions, right? They just want to believe in something. So let me give them something to believe in, and then they're going to throw their money at me, or they're just going to come and follow me, and then the platform is going to throw money at me. Right? That's how it works. All right. Like baiting vulnerable, easily persuaded people, especially in this day and age, when there's so much uncertainty and confusion and threats of wars. And I'm going to nuke you. And no, I'm going to nuke you. All these different things. And people will become anxious because they're not grounded in Alahayam. They're grounded in Jesus. They're grounded in the Lord and God and Christ, in themselves, in their livelihoods. They're grounded in every other things, any and every other thing, except the true and living Alahayam. And when you're not grounded in him, then fear will take over. Anxiety will take over. Frustration will take over. All the negative energies will take over. Oppression, depression, everything will take over. And so you will gravitate towards someone who will give you answers that will be pleasing to your ears. You don't have to worry. You just need to be rapture ready, and then you'll get harpazo out of here. People love to hear this. You don't even need to have faith. You don't need to do anything except believe. Like repent, believe, say the sinner's prayer, and then you're rapture ready and be harpaxoed out of this miserable world into the heavens where you can live happily ever after. That's the story that the deceivers are feeding people. These ones too, they will say, yes, he is the Messiah, Well, the thing is, for the most part, they too are deceived because they actually do believe in the lies. And all they're doing is passing on the lies. Lies that they have heard and believed. And they say, okay, well, I'm going to jump on this bandwagon and start my own little following and pass on the lies and deception. All right. This type of false messiah, or these types of false messiahs, are usually religious and even pious people. Should have made that plural, right? But there are hirelings who do not care about the spiritual well-being of people. You see it all the time. I see it. You see these people, anybody that come out and okay, they come and they say, yes, I'm here for you. I'm here to give you the word of Alahayam. I'm here to give you the word from the Messiah. Let's go there. I believe in the Messiah, and I come to give you the word from the Messiah. Can you please send some money my way? I'm in need. All right? Anytime you see anyone begging you for money, run far away from them. Run far away from anyone who claim to be a believer and they're begging for money. I would never put monetary um, or monetize what I'm doing here. I would never do this. The Father's already paying me, and He pays me well, right? He pays me well. Plus, I am doing this for my inheritance, my heavenly inheritance. I don't care about silver or gold. I want my heavenly inheritance. But there are many people that are doing this, like what I am doing, for money. They're doing it for money. And a lot of them get paid well. And they still beg for more money. All right, let's move on. They want to draw people to themselves and have discovered that using the title Messiah will do just that, especially with gullible people that are religious minded. You will find that these same persons will use false doctrines to trap their prey further, which are more lies and deception. And that goes with our people too. All right, we're going to move on to the next paragraph, which will talk about our people. But a lot of these false messiahs, these false preachers, teachers, prophets, prophetesses, apostles, what have you, they that claim, yes, he is the Messiah, they come with a lot of false doctrines because Ruach HaKodesh is not with them. So if he's not with them, they're not receiving revelation. They're not receiving the truth, so they have to come with their own whitewashed lies and pull the wool even further over your eyes. I've seen this firsthand. I've seen this firsthand. These ones are inclusive of those who claim to be our brethren, who also claim that they are awake to the truth, but instead they use his title to make merchandise of people. I've seen that firsthand. And you know what they like to do with people when they have a group? They make them into a cult where these same people don't have anything to do with anybody else but the people in their group. And that is a red flag right there, because that's what cults do. The cult leader would tell them, don't have anything to do with anyone outside of our little group here, or our growing group. And then they treat you like an outcast, even though they're supposed to be the light. Hamashiach said we're supposed to be the light to draw people onto him. But instead of drawing people onto them, they reject people because their leader told them to do this. Because the leaders don't want the truth to reach the ears of these people, because heaven forbid, if they start believing in the truth, they will walk away from them. And they don't want that. And they're living off the sweat, the blood, sweat, and tears of these people. Seen this firsthand. All right. Let's read on. They will go as far as to take the scriptures out of context, or either out of ignorance, as they too are deceived, or they are agents working for these devils. There's some of them that aren't even our brethren. Right? And that's why they come with such lies and so much deception. They come with all these false doctrines. They take the scriptures completely out of context because they are not being fed spiritually by Ruach HaKodesh. They're not our brethren. They might have a mother or a father who was or is the brethren, but they have the other parent is not. So that makes them not of Yasha'al. It doesn't matter if one parent is, or you call them Gentile Yasha'al, because we all became like Gentiles when we were scattered. All right? We're not reclaiming our identity. So you go and you marry a Gentile and you produce a child, that child is also a Gentile. All right? And these are the ones that are putting their messages out there that are deceiving the true bloodline of Abraham. And many people are following them because they either look good or sound good, or both. They're deceived. They're deceived by what they see, and they're deceived by what they hear. All right? Don't let nobody deceive you. You need to know the word in order for you to be not deceived. You need to know the word of Alahayam for yourself. You need to go to the word and sit down and study with him. And when he gives you your own daily bread, now you have something to compare to what these false preachers are teaching out there. These false leaders, false prophets are putting out there. You need to know it for yourself. You can't take their word for it. How you can take a man's word for it? You don't even know anything about this person except what you see on a screen, what you hear. You don't know if this person is truly who they say they are. All right. Let's read on. All of these scenarios listed above clearly leads to much deception, and these deceivers are working for the devils either knowingly or unknowingly. They're all enlisted by them to do the devil's dirty deeds. They don't even know it, but they've been enlisted by the devils to do his deed, which will mean ultimately that they're going to perish. They're going to be cast into the lake of fire. You deceive the Father's children, he's going to cast you in the lake of fire. Let's move on to Matthew chapter 24, verse 6. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. That's why he commanded us. He said, don't be troubled. Don't let your heart be troubled. Neither let it be afraid. These things have to happen because the end is coming. It's not here yet. When he said it, when we begin to see these things happening, the end is not yet. But we have been seeing these wars and hearing of these rumors of wars for some time now. So we're past that point. The end is quite almost here. And when he talks of the end here, he's talking about the end of the world. When he will return. See, the ending of the world will come when the last vial is poured out. Because then Hamashiach is going to return to establish his reign on the earth. All right? But you will hear of wars and rumors of wars just like what we are witnessing today. But we are not to be troubled. That's why I hear it and I just kind of roll my eyes and I like, okay, whatever, let me move on. Half of what they say you don't believe anyway, because it is all propaganda to stir up fear and confusion and anxiety. And then what is real? You're still not troubled because it's not going to come near us. It's not going to come and touch us. And because you know what you know, you're happy. You're rejoicing. He said, when you hear of these things, he said, look up, for your redemption draws near. So the more you hear of wars and rumors of wars, the more you need to look up. And when you look up, that means that your faith has been activated and blossoming because you're anticipating that he will come when he said he will come for his people. This prophecy we are currently experiencing, as there are wars and rumors of wars swirling constantly around us. Never before have we seen a time where there are so many threats of wars between many countries. And this goes to show us that this prophecy is currently coming to pass. Well, it started even before, actually it would have been starting around the Maccabean time. All right, because that's when there were a series of wars between them and the Roman Empire, the Roman armies. So even from that point onward, there were wars. They've always been wars. Even before Hamashiach said this, they've even been wars. But what he is also letting us know that it's going to escalate so tremendously that you cannot ignore the fact that something is up. Because not only are there wars occurring, but there are now threats of other wars occurring all at the same time. All right? Let's read on. And this goes to show that this prophecy is currently coming to pass, and therefore the next great prophetic event will soon occur. So all of these things that he's speaking of, they're going to lead up to two major events that are coming: the 3 days of darkness and the regathering of the southern kingdom. All right? After that, then you have the awakening of the northern kingdom. The two beasts rise up, the beast empire number 7 and the anti-Messiah. They're going to rise up and they're going to reign over this earth, this entire earth, for 3.5 years. And during those 3.5 years, the northern kingdom is going to fight against this empire. Just like the Maccabees fought against the Roman Empire, the northern kingdom, when they're awakened, to who they really are, they're going to rise up arms against them because they're not going to submit themselves to their demands and commands. And that's why they must war against them. But they will not prevail. They will be prevailed against, because this is the northern kingdom's time to be martyred, like the southern kingdom has been martyred or had been martyred. All right? But despite the many threats of wars and countries warring against one another, we were told by Hamashiach that this is not the end as yet, meaning that there is much, much more to come. Terrible times are ahead, especially for the inhabitants on the earth. He also warned his people to not be troubled when these things begin to occur. We have to have peace in our hearts and in our minds, despite what is going on around us. This peace comes from Him, our Shalawam, meaning Prince of Peace, being confident in Him to protect us and eventually to regather us at His appointed times. The southern kingdom first, and then the northern kingdom. The Gentiles will remain as they are because they have to go through all of the judgments. The southern kingdom, our time of judgment will be soon over. Our final judgment will be the 3 days of darkness, and then we're regathered. The northern kingdom, when they start their second exodus, they're going to go through the trumpet judgments. By the fifth trumpet judgment, that's when it stops for them. Because now, by this time, the righteous remnant of the northern kingdom will be the ones in the Exodus. All rebels will be destroyed. So now, these are the ones that will be sealed by Alahayam Yahweh, and they will be walking in a perpetual garden of Odan. That's Yahweh, the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 3. They'll be walking in a perpetual garden. They will not see any more disasters, any more judgments. They will now be protected in His glory. And then the Gentiles that are left, who belongs to Him, they will go on the ground. And He will protect them and provide for them. So they don't need to fear. You see, when you begin to fear, then trouble is going to find you. And this is a time when we need to operate in faith. When you operate in faith, the devil can't touch you. The devils won't touch you. They can't even find you. All right? So that's why when you have peace in your heart, that no matter what is happening around you, it means that you're secure in your belief in Alahayam. Think about those 3 boys, those 3 Oberai boys that were thrown into the fire. You think the fear of being burnt bothered them? They're like, do whatever you need to do, O king, but we will not humble ourselves and bow down to your image. Same thing with Danayal when he was thrown into the lion's den. No matter what comes your way, Alahayam will send angels to protect who belongs to Him. And this is the reason why He wanted me to do some studies about angels, so that we can understand how important they have always been to us as His people, and how they will be activated once again to be there for those who are on the earth. We see great activity with the angels proclaiming the gospel and the judgments. Okay. verse Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places, meaning indefinite, manifold, meaning many, 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 many places. So all these things, the famines, the pestilences, earthquakes, they're all going to happen worldwide. In other words, verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So keep that verse in mind, because I'm going to explain what this verse means. Next, Hamashiach listed more events and disasters that we are already seeing today. And all of the above mentioned events and disasters are happening on a worldwide scale. That's why he said diverse places. Nation shall rise against nation is speaking about nations taking up arms against each other. Yes, wars. But this is much more intense. This meaning about nation rising up against nation is more intense because Hamashiach wants us to understand something. He already spoke about wars and rumors of wars. Why is he speaking about nation rising against nation? Here's why. Because this goes hand in hand with wars and rumors of wars, but the end goal is to establish the 10 territories with the 10 kings of the beast empire number 7. So this is the reason why Hamashiach spoke about this nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Because he wants us to know that something here is manifesting. Something here is arising out of what is occurring with these nations against a nation against nation. This is the reason for wars and rumors of wars, because the evil powers that be cannot just divide up the earth into 10 territories as they wish and establish the 10 kings. The people will rise up in protest and reject this idea. And so they have launched a diabolical plan. So all these wars that you see happening, they are all planned, organized, and funded by the powers that be, because they are stirring up strife, because what their end goal is to establish the 10 territories on this earth. So that all the different nations that we have that once had sovereignty, there'll be no more. And we see that already done away with since 2020. All right. So this is not far away. This is happening as we speak. They are manufacturing much chaos, fear from the threats of wars and confusion with these uprisings as in protests against the fake Jewish people. All of these, the protesting you see in all different parts of the world against those people in Israel, all of this are part of their plan to bring instability, chaos, and confusion. All right? As, eventually, people will become worn out by much fear, chaos, and confusion due to civil unrest and the wars and rumors of wars, which will cause the inhabitants to greatly desire peace. You hear them talking about it. Oh, I'm so tired of these wars. I just want peace. And the more these wars and rumors of wars and civil unrest continue on, then people will cry out for peace. You see? All right. And when this happens, they will be in full agreement with the wicked agent's solution for world peace when the time comes. You see, they're already talking about world peace because that's their end goal. Problem, reaction, solution at play. This is all psychology that they're using on the masses, on the inhabitants on this earth, in order to get people to be in the state of mind that they want them to be in, crying out for what they want them to cry out for. They create the scenarios. All right? They're the ones that created the wars in the first place. And, and not only the wars, but all the different protests and riots and all the different uprisings that you see happening around the world. They plan these things. And they've hired these people to do these things. Although there may be one or two foolish people that would join in. But the greater majority of the people that are doing these things are paid actors. All right. And this problem, reaction, solution is their way of getting people to do what they want them to do, to cry out for what they want them to cry out for, so that they can offer them their solution, the solution that they originally wanted. All right? Kingdom against kingdom is speaking of the clear divide between good and evil, between people in darkness versus people in the light of Alahayam. More and more each day we will be seeing this dividing line growing clearer and clearer, separating two distinctive people, two distinctive groups of people, those who worship Alahayam and those who worship pagan gods or none. It doesn't matter if they worship none. They will belong to those people who worship pagan gods. And this is what it's been about from the very beginning. Everything that you see happening in this world has always been about the people of Alahayam versus the people in this world. All right? From day one, it's always been about Alahayam and his people. And we represent his kingdom on the earth. All right? And so those other peoples out there now, the other nations, they belong to the kingdom of darkness. And that's why they have a hard time with people like us. Those people that follow Alahayam Yahweh. And it's going to get worse because the dividing line is there. Before it, religion blurred, Christianity blurred that line. But now you see a clear line, and we see with our own eyes and hear with our own ears where Christianity belongs. It belongs on the other side. Because it was never part of him. It never had anything, Christianity never had anything to do with Alahayam. It's one of those other man-made religions that were fed to the inhabitants on the earth to keep them away from him. Keep them worshiping pagan gods, thinking that they're worshiping the true and living Alahayam. And that's why today we can see with clarity where Christianity sits, where all these religions sit. Whether it's Pentecostal, Evangelical, Baptist, no matter what, they belong on the other side. And you see that clear divide, especially when it comes to the alphabet group. If you notice that a lot of them condone the alphabet people, the people that same genders, they marry one another, same gender. And now you're seeing even greater deception where now they're bringing in artificial intelligence to represent the Messiah. That is supposed to be the Messiah. And it is these same churches, whatever denomination they are, that are doing these things. Again, that shows you the clear divide between people who believe in Alahayam Yahweh and those other people. Don't tell me that I'm a Christian and I don't believe in this nonsense, so I don't belong over there. As long as you call yourself a Christian and you believe in Christ and Jesus and Lord and God, you belong over there. That's where you belong. You believe in Ahaya, you belong over there. You believe in Yeshua, you belong over there. You believe in Yahweh, you belong over there on the other side of the line, where all the pagan worshippers are. And this is the line now that we're seeing with clarity. And those same people will come against us and tell us that we're legalistic and we're this and we're that. It don't matter. You can say whatever you want to say. Say it from the other side of the line, right? And stay there. All right. Let's read on. There are people already committing great atrocities in the light of day with no fear of repercussions, no fear of authorities, and no fear of punishment. And this is occurring because laws are secretly being changed to favor the lawless and to punish the righteous. And this too is worldwide. Many people have become empty of empathy, sympathy, and compassion, which are the clear indicators that we are truly in the end times, as Hamashiach warned us. So all these are evidence of showing the clear divide between the kingdom of light versus the kingdom of darkness. And you're seeing all these different videos of people losing it, people lashing out, people physically lashing out, verbally lashing out, with little to no provocation. We're seeing all kinds of atrocities taking place that we would not have seen 10 years ago. Why? Because the line now is drawn. And so those people now, you're seeing based on their behavior, their actions, and their words, who they belong to. And we're not to do what they're doing. We're not to retaliate or respond. Get out of their way. That's all I was going to warn you. Get out of their way, because the laws have been passed to favor the criminals. The laws have been passed to favor people going into your house to squat and kick you out. The law no longer favors the homeowner whose hard-earned money paid for that house. All these wicked things are happening. All right. That's why let me tell you, got a house, sell it. Rent a house, because if a squatter comes in, you can pack up your Georgie bundle and head out and leave them there, because there are no more rights for the righteous. There are no more rights for those who are trying to live righteously and trying to do things the correct way, the right way. Okay, let's finish up with Yeshaya chapter 5 verse 20, the book of Isaiah chapter 5 verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. And this is exactly what is occurring in this world today. Everything now is upside down. What is good, they call evil. What is evil, they call good. And don't worry that it seems like Christianity is taking the brunt right now. That's what you call damage. No, sorry. That's what they call, they need to take out a few of them to keep the deception rolling, right? It's the same devils that are running the show, calling, that are called Jesus and Lord and God and whatnot. They're doing this. This is what they do to keep the deception rolling. So don't let them fool you into thinking, well, Christians are being persecuted all over the world. Who's persecuting them? Their own people. Their own devils are persecuting them. Don't let that fool you. All right? Don't let that fool you. It's the same coin. A coin has two sides. And it's the same coin. It's the same group. It's the same devils at work using two kinds of people. The ones that you call good, which are the Christians, and the ones that are evil, we call the devil worshippers. But they all belong to the same coin. They all are the same coin. Do not let that deceive you. All right? Hamashiach also spoke about famines due to droughts, which will increase exponentially, pestilences, as in plagues of diseases on crops, in animals, and in people. And then you have the earthquakes. You see, all of these things that you see happening are manufactured. All right? They're trying is not the right word. What they're doing is they are provoking a famine. For the last few years, they have been burning manufacturing plants. And now they're destroying the crops. They're destroying the animals, like the chickens and the cows. Right? They're telling the farmers to get rid of this, to get rid of that. And if you don't, we're coming after you. Because these same farmers have loans in the bank. So they don't have a choice but to obey. Otherwise, they got to pay up. Right? And some farmers are distressed about it because they say, I'm pouring good milk down the drain. I remember there was a whole bunch of potatoes, like tons of potatoes. And this is during sometime after 2020. Because this particular farmer, he supplied the restaurants and whatnot. And because everything was closed, he had all these potatoes rotting. He couldn't even give them away. The supply chain is being dismembered. Right? They're trying to cut the supply chain. Well, trying is not the right word, but they have been effectively destroying the supply chain. All these different disasters with either the ships that bring the food or the trains or what have you, because they're trying to provoke this famine. And that's the one way in which they're doing it. How about the other way in which they are now destroying crops by using the changes in the weather because of their technology that they're using to bring a drought this place or a flooding this place in the next place. All right? These are all the things that they're doing. So don't think that there's no famine. It's just that it's not severe as yet. But there are people already complaining when they go to the supermarket that either things are missing or things have become extremely expensive. They can't afford to buy eggs. Why? Because they've been killing the chickens. If you have no chickens, you have no eggs. And you have no eggs, you can't get more chickens. And so on and so forth. All these things are happening. Are you going to see in the next study where a loaf of bread is going to cost, and I'm using this as an example, a loaf of bread is going to cost a man's wages for a day. And it's not even enough to supply his hunger for the whole day. Because that bread is going to be, you see, that loaf of bread is a small loaf of bread. So it can barely supply him one meal. That's a famine too. Everything is going to get so ridiculously expensive, you're not going to be able to afford the basic staples. All right? So don't tell me that there's no famine yet. There's always been a famine. It's just that we don't feel the brunt of it because there are other things that we can run to get. All right? There are no eggs, so then it's going to affect other ingredients or other groceries that call for eggs. And then next will be the flour, the wheat. It's going to become scarce. All right? All right. That's what's happening. All of these disasters we are seeing today happening in many places, in diverse places, and on a world, and which is what we call the worldwide scale. And that's another thing too. We've always had really bad famines. Remember Ethiopia back in the 80s? When the actors, the entertainers came together and sang this song, and the proceeds went to the people in Ethiopia, so they say. Remember that? We've always had famines on the earth, but this famine is going to be a worldwide famine. And even we can even take that to mean the spiritual famine that is already coming, where the word of Alahayam is going to become scarce on the earth because of the wickedness. The southern kingdom is gone. The northern kingdom, they're in the Exodus. Who's left to bring the word to the Gentiles? That's when he's going to use his angels to bring the gospel. Because the word is going to be scarce on the earth as well. Remember, the word to us is like spiritual food. So you have the natural food that will be cut off, and then you have the spiritual food that will also be cut off. Because people on this earth will not want to hear anything to do with Alahayam Yahweh because they belong to the devils. So why would they want to hear about Alahayam? Why would they want to hear about Hamashiach? So that's the worst kind of famine there is. Worse than food, for sure. Because you can't survive without Alahayam. You can't expect to survive and live forever without Alahayam. You need him. You want eternal life? You need him. All right. Yet he said that this is just the beginning of sorrows, which are the birth pangs, the beginning of the breaking of the 7 seals of judgment. And this is the most important point that we need to take away here. When we begin to see all these things happening, now let me say this, going back to the famine of the word. Already this is happening because there are a lot of people out there preaching a lot of false doctrines. We spoke about the false messiahs, remember that? This is already happening. The true word of Alahayam is scarce. All right? And now that we have looked at these few events that he said, that when we see all these things coming together, conversion, now we know that we are at the beginning of the breaking of the seven seals. Let's go back to hear what he called it. It was verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. All of these are showing us that this is leading us to the breaking of the seven seals of judgment. And that's where we are today, because the seals have been broken. Some of them have been broken. All right? Now, based on all that Hamashiach had warned us that will come as the signs of the end times, we know that the first four seals have already been broken. So we're going to look at those four seals in the next study. All right? This is contrary to what some people may think, who believe that the seals are still yet to be broken, but they are already here. How can you look at everything that's going on in the world around us and not think that the seals are broken? Because a lot of people are convinced that they are going to escape tribulation. And this is what the seals represent. The seals, the seven seals represent tribulation. The seven trumpets represent the great tribulation, and the seven vials represent the seven vials of the wrath of Alahayam. Those represent the wrath of Alahayam. People are convinced that Alahayam, well, they will say God, would not show anger to himself. So if you are a believer, you have the Holy Spirit. And because you have the Holy Spirit, he will not allow you to go through any tribulation, because he will not show his anger to himself, which is utter nonsense. Utter. You see, everything in that statement is utter nonsense. And people that are uttering these statements, they're doing so because they are in deception. They are under heavy deception. All right? They're already pagan believers because they are in the Jesus worship. They're believers in the rapture. Okay? They're believers in the fact that they will not have to go through anything concerning a tribulation. Right? But these are people that are deceived. And they're deceived because Alahayam has given them spirits to lead them away from him. Doesn't matter if they're Gentile or brethren. He has given them spirits to lead them away from him. Keep them believing in the deception. All right, because you cannot believe that you are so perfect in your, so that's another thing that they say. Oh, we can never be perfect enough to be, well, let me just say it this way. We can never be perfect. And he does not expect perfection, because it is impossible to be perfect. Well, that is your belief. That is your misunderstanding, because the perfection that he's looking for is not the perfection that we believe, because he wants us to be complete in him. That is the perfection that he's looking for. And he will work his work in us to perfect us to his satisfaction. But if you're trying to perfect yourself, you will fail, because you could never be perfect enough for him outside of him. And because you are already outside of him, because you're a pagan worshiper, you will never be able to be perfect with him, perfect in him, and perfect according to his requirements. So all these doctrines that these people teach and preach are utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Does not make, none of what they say make any sense. And I'm sure to their ears, it really doesn't make sense, but they have to keep believing in the lie. They don't have any other hope. They don't have any other, they have nothing else to believe in. So they have to keep believing in the lie. And that's why they go back now to the seals and say, when we're out of here in the rapture, then all hell is going to break loose. All hell is breaking loose right now. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? All hell has already began breaking loose on the earth. And you're still here. And you will continue to be here until the day you are destroyed. Because you fail to believe in the truth. These people, they fail to believe in the truth. Just by looking at the evidence, which are the events of disasters that are growing in frequency and intensity, tells us so. You just got to look and see wars and rumors of wars. 10 years ago, you hear about a war here, and then maybe a year or so later, you hear about another war. Now you hear about wars every day. And then the threats as well. Everything is escalating. Even earthquakes. You might hear about an earthquake in this place, and then maybe a month or so later, another earthquake. Now you have earthquakes so frequently. I'm not being literal here, but I'm just using this somewhat as an example, because I'm sure there were earthquakes in various places at different times, but not to this frequency, not like this frequent reports, these frequent reports of earthquakes, and not only how frequently they're occurring, but the intensity in which they're coming. I think at one point in time I heard that they changed the levels of of how they categorize the earthquakes, because they're coming more and more frequently now and growing in their intensity. Just like hurricanes. Before, yes, they had up to a grade 5 hurricane. They may now have to do a grade 6 because they're coming now fast and furious, and they're increasing in their strength. This is the point that Hamashiach is making, that these things are going to escalate. And as they're escalating, now you know that these are the beginning of the birth pangs of the seals being broken. Now, he is not saying that as the seals are broken, that we have to see them climax in order to know that they're broken. No. When you're seeing all these things happening together, you already know that they've been broken. All right? And we're going to talk more about that in the next study. So let's finish up here. Hamashiach said that these events were the beginning of sorrows, meaning that they are the evidence of certain seals being broken. The issue that we are all facing today is whether we know the truth, or are we indoctrinated in whitewashed lies, deception. But the truth will always win, and it will always reveal itself eventually. By that time, it will be too late for persons to repent, as their fate will already be sealed. So by the time you figure out that this is the truth, or these were lies that you were believing in, it might be too late. Because if you can't believe in the truth now, how are you going to believe in the truth later on? You're waiting to see things happening, then to believe the truth. Then it's too late. Then it'll be too late. because fear is going to take over. How are you going to, in your, in, in the grip of fear, how are you going to think, I need to repent? How are you going to think that? In your time of fear, when you see these things, when things like blossom out of control, how are you going to have time to repent? It will not be given to you to repent. A lot of people will not be given to repentance. Why? Because they were given over to the spirits to be led away from Alahayam. You see, Alahayam already knows who belong to him. He already knows who belong to him. All right? And those that belong to him, he has given them his spirit to keep them in all their ways. And all other people, he sent them away. He sent them away. Just like what Abraham did with his sons, the 7 sons that he had. He gave them some money, he gave them some food, and sent them away and kept his son with him. Because his son, that's Yitzhak, was the son of the promise, or the son of promise rather. So all that belonged to Abraham would have passed on to Yitzhak without any argument. All the other sons that he had by Keturah and Hagar were sent away, far away from his son of promise. And it's the same thing that Alahayam is doing today with his people. Who belongs to him, he secures, and all other people, he sends them away. Far away. Because he's going to destroy them. Okay, and that's the ending of part 1. This is a very, very interesting study, I must say. And it's coming at a time when we need to know what we need to do in order to make it in the chariots. In fact, make it through the 3 days of darkness. That's the first event that's coming anyway, right? The final event for the southern kingdom. Well, the final event of judgment, I should say, for the southern kingdom. All right, and then after that we fly. Okay, so with that we will conclude with the blessing for Yashwa'al taken from Ba Madabar chapter 6 verses 24 to 26. That's Numbers chapter 6 verses 24 to 26. Yabarakak Yahweh wa Yashamarak. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahweh panayo alayak wa yahanak. May Yahweh cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahweh panayo alayak wa yasham lak Shalawam. May Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you peace. And now we're going to recite the command he told us to recite when we lie down, when we get up, when we go out, and when we come in, taken from the Barayam chapter 6 verses 4 and 5. That's Deuteronomy chapter 6 verses 4 and 5. Shama o Yashwa'al Yahweh Alahayana Yahweh Achad wa Ahabav Af Yahweh Alahayak Bakal Babak wa Bakal Nabashat wa Bakal Ma'adak. Hear, O Yashwa'al, Yahweh our Alahayam is one Yahweh, and you shall love Yahweh your Alahayam with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And with that I will say, Shalawam, Shalawam, all praises to the Most High, Abaya.